What's going on, everybody? Hope everybody's doing well. It is 9 o'clock. Time to start the live. I've been waiting since last week. I'm excited. I really had a good time last week. I appreciate everybody. David, I see you on. Welcome. If you guys don't care, let me know when you get on. Tell me what's up. Tell me where you're from. I like to see where you guys are from. Yeah, again, last week was a lot of fun. I had a really good time last week. You guys had a lot of really good questions, and I enjoyed answering them. I had some follow-up questions that came in after the live, and I appreciate them. Appreciate all you guys' questions. I enjoy answering them, and hopefully they help. So this is a time, again, this is a time for you guys to ask me some of your questions. I know sometimes you don't. You know, I'm the same way. Sometimes I don't like to sit there and type all the time. Whoa, we just had a bunch of people come in. I guess maybe my computer just caught up. Josh, what's up? Walking the dog in Chattanooga. All right, welcome. I got Iowa. Barik. Is that right? Did I say it right? If not, I'm sorry. Got Bob, Southwest Virginia. Living life with Laura from the living room. That's my wife, guys. Hey, Laura. Hey, honey. What are you doing? Keep them kids in there with you. Oh, she's going to bring them in here now. Let's see. Jeffrey from Chattanooga. Larry. What's going on, buddy? I'm glad you're with us. We got Jeff, welcome. BBT, Sevierville, Major Brown, Chicago. Man, Major, last time I was in Chicago, I flew into the airport and rented a car, and they said, "Do you want the speed pass?" Well, my work told me, "Don't get any extras on the car. You don't need them. The company covers everything." I said, "Oh, okay." So I did not get the speed pass when I went through Chicago, and the next thing I know, I hit 4 million toll roads and ended up having to try to dig for change. It was a mess. If you go to Chicago, guys, and rent a car, always get the speed pass where you can go through the tolls. That's my tip for the video. If you get nothing out of this video, get the speed pass in Chicago. I'm sure Major Brown will agree. Jody, what's up? Marshall, welcome. I enjoyed last week as well, Marshall. Upstate South Carolina. Major, see, you are correct. He agrees. Get the speed pass, guys. You heard it at Wired for Crappie. Get the speed pass. All right, so let me kind of recap my week since the last live. For you, those of you that follow the channel, you probably saw I did not do a video. What's up, Joshua? Still no Kung Flu here in Sweetwater. Kung Flu. That's good, Joshua. I'm glad to hear it. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope everybody's, dodging this sickness. So, recap since last live. I did not get a show filmed this weekend. I apologize. Mostly because Friday I was going to look at a job for work and stopped at a construction zone that they had in the road, and I stopped, and the guy turned a little sign around to slow, and I went to go around him, and my truck wouldn't move. So I mashed the gas to the floor and got about 26 mile an hour out of my truck, and ended up, what's up, Bruce? Ended up having to take my truck into the shop, and it sat there all weekend. So no fishing for me this weekend. Again, I apologize. I did not put out a video, but, it's spring and the fish are shallow, and I really wanted to do some springtime fishing, some different stuff. I didn't want to go back into the reel and pull out a bunch of winter stuff and show it to you guys, put it out there for you guys. And, you guys look at a bunch of old videos. So that was kind of my decision. But I hope you're okay with it. We got the truck back. I took my truck to Auto Excellence in Maryville, Tennessee, Auto Excellence. I took it in there. I walked in the door. I said, hey, I got check engine lights. Truck won't go anywhere. It's rattling like a diesel. It's not a diesel. And yeah, something's wrong with it, bad wrong with it. And they said, well, take a seat. Let's look at it. We'll at least let you know what it is. They pulled it back immediately, ran the codes, diagnosed it, came back out, said A or B. A or B sucked. A was solenoids, $100 solenoids. B was you blew your motor and have to put a new motor in your truck. Whoa. So $200, $6,700. It's one of the two. And, you know, that's my luck. So anyway, they threw new solenoids in it. They said, can you leave your truck here with us today? I said, absolutely. I said, I'm not driving it like it is because I baby my truck. I love my truck. It's wife, boat, truck in that order. Okay. Well, kids are in there too. Wife, kids, boat, truck. Yeah, you get it. Anyway, left the truck there. They jumped right on it. They had it ready Monday morning or Monday afternoon about lunch, called me and said, your truck's ready, come get it. And it's been running great since. So knock on wood. Hope it stays running great. They put new solenoids in it and got me rocking and rolling. So Auto Excellence in Maryville, Tennessee, they are good people. They are good people. I will take my truck. Actually, I called them today and asked them to get me a quote on some maintenance. So they're good people. Let's see who else has joined while I've been running my mouth. Got Milton from Mesquite, Texas. What's going on, Milton? I actually lived in Port Arthur, Beaumont area for a little while when I was younger. So the Texas boys, got a little Texas blood in me. Grew up hunting down there, the pines of Texas. Bruce Lester from Kentucky. Hey, Bruce. Travis Christians, what's going on? Travis asked, do I have my black box grounded? I'm assuming you mean LiveScope, right, Travis? No, my black box is not grounded, no. Your power is grounded to your battery. You got a red and a black wire. You know, you got positive, negative to the battery, and you got an inline fuse to the box. So no, I didn't ground the box. I'm assuming you mean the exterior ground that's on the side of the box. No, I did not. Good question though. Dean Cook, Franklin, North Carolina, welcome. Just over the hill, Shelbyville, Tennessee. Welcome. Jeffrey White, welcome. Major Brown, what kind of truck? Must be a Ford. Yeah, well, that must be because you live in Chicago, Major. It is a Ford, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. I drive a black Ford Platinum F-150, and I love it. Actually, I've had the truck for, well, it's got 200,000 miles on it, so I've had the truck for a while, and this is the first real issue I've had out of it. I had an alternator go, and I had to put an alternator in it, but other than that, this is the first real issue that I've had, and it's been a great truck. It really has. I just, anything mechanical is going to need maintenance. It was just solenoids, I'm hoping. It's running good now, and I hadn't thrown any more codes. So, and I've been driving it since Monday. Today's Wednesday, a couple days on it. But trust me, the way it was running, guys, if it was still broke, you'd know it. I had to throw the truck in neutral when I stopped and feather the gas just to keep it running. So don't have to do that anymore. Stop and it keeps running. What's up, BA? It's going good, man. Let's see. How's it going? John asked if John's kind of asking everybody a question on this one. He's saying, how's it going? Everybody, had the fishing been tough? How's it going, everybody? Had the fishing been tough for everybody else as it has for me this last week? John, I wish I could answer that. I can let some of these other guys on here answer it, but I don't know. I haven't been fishing. My truck's been broke. I know I've talked to a lot of people in our club. Fishing is really good right now for a lot of people. There's a lot of people catching numbers of fish and good fish too. So I don't know. I know last time I did fish, which was week 4 last, I caught a lot of fish. I will say that, with this virus and everything, about all we can do anymore is fish, right? And there's a lot of people out there on the lake fishing. So some of the spots that, if you think you've got something hidden on the lake, no, there's nothing that's hidden from people on the lake. I mean, with technology as advanced as it is now, everybody knows where your spot is. And as many people are fishing right now, they're probably getting hit pretty hard. David said he caught a limit shooting shallow docks on Chick. Chick is unbelievable. I can't imagine how many fish are under docks down there right now. Docks are where it's at on Chickamauga for sure. Travis said Garmin told him to ground his black box to the boat's water ground. Never heard of such a thing. I hadn't either, Travis. I can tell you this, Travis, if you're running an aluminum boat, I've somewhat heard of, aluminum conducting electricity or carrying electricity. And if you have your box mounted to something that is touching that aluminum, you could be getting some interference, but I don't know. I'm assuming you're asking these questions, Travis, because you've got some interference or a ghost tree or something along those lines. Is that right? If so, leave me a comment. Kind of give me a little idea of why you're asking these questions, and I'll try to answer. If you guys want to start putting some questions out there, I'll start answering some questions. Again, this is for you guys. I'm here to answer any questions you guys have. Talk fishing with you. It's just kind of something I decided to do for y'all. That way you can get some of your questions answered. Oh, and if you are watching and you can't leave a comment, I had a guy call me and he's like, I can't comment on your live. What's going on? You need to go to YouTube. Okay, and sign up for a YouTube account. It doesn't cost anything. They're not going to bug you. They're not going to send you emails. You do have to put your email in and a password to create an account. But once you create that account, it gives you access to commenting on my lives. You can comment on videos. You can subscribe to the channel. You can click the notification bell, which will tell you, it'll send you an email. The only emails you'll get is when the people you subscribe to upload a video. So if you subscribe to my channel, it's going to send you an email when I upload a video for you to watch. But if you can't comment right now, it's probably because you don't have a YouTube ID. You need to go sign up on YouTube. It doesn't take 5 minutes. You can do it now and come right back. Let's see. Larry said he had his best day ever on Monday. That's awesome, Larry. Congratulations, buddy. For those of you that didn't see my video with Larry Merrick, go check that out. I took Larry fishing. Larry won a contest on my channel here a little while back, and me and him went down to Chickamauga and flat wore them out. I don't remember how many fish we caught that day. Between the two of us, 75 fish, Larry, something like that. We only fished 5-6 hours, I think. I don't even think we fished a full day. But we flat wore them out. It was a fun day. We had a good time. Here we go. Bob May, do you fish Cherokee Lake any? If you do, what were you most successful with? I do fish Cherokee Lake, Bob. It is the furthest lake from my house, so I don't fish it as much as other lakes. Let me ask you a question, Bob. What months are you talking about? Because it's going to differ. Cherokee fluctuates so much. They draw it down so far and fill it so much that if you could just leave me another comment of what month you're speaking about, or kind of a range, maybe a 3-month range or something, then I'll try to answer that a little better. What pound mono you use to pull cranks? I'll be honest with you. I use, actually, to pull crankbaits, I use 6 pound test Major. It's actually 6 pound test Mr. Crappie, which is actually probably more like 20. That Mr. Crappie 6 pound test, that stuff's strong, but it's cheap for pulling crankbaits. Again, if you were watching last week, I'm cheap. I've said that multiple times last week. So I like 6 pound Mr. Crappie to pull crankbaits. I run an inline weight. I run a 2 ounce inline weight and then a 3 foot leader to the crankbait. And I'm basically fishing straight down with those. I pull my crankbaits anywhere from 1.2 to 1.4, saves on my trolling motor battery. And with the weights in line, I can get my crankbait down deeper and I don't have to run as fast. The speed is what gets the crankbaits down. But when you're fishing, when you're long lining them, but when you're fishing with that inline weight, I can drop them to the bottom and run 1.2, 1.4 all day. Doesn't kill my trolling motor batteries. The 6 pound test is what I run. Here's a good question. For those with LiveScope, what's your thoughts on the perspective view and the updates? My personal opinion of the perspective view, I think it's great technology, first of all. I think it's just another step that in the direction of where all this is going. But I think they released it a little early. I think the updates aren't taken right. Have I updated my unit? No, and I'm not gonna. I hadn't updated my unit since I bought it. I had a lot of people comment on my LiveScope video that I did with all the settings and everything a couple weeks ago, and they literally asked me, how did you get your unit so clear? Well, I hadn't updated it. And throughout the different updates, I think some people were losing clarity. And I can't speak to why that is exactly. I think maybe they were trying to take the steps necessary to get to where they were at perspective. I think it's a little early for perspective. I think it's good. I think it's going to get right, but I'm going to wait 6 or 8 months probably before I jump into that scene and download perspective view. And I did buy the bracket from Garmin. And if we're going to talk about it, I'll just go ahead and get on my soapbox, David. There were a lot of people that just couldn't believe and kind of bashed Garmin for the $100 mount or arm for perspective view. $100 for that technology really isn't bad. I think, my view on that is they could have told you, hey, we'll give you the update, but you got to buy another $1,500 transducer. They just want you to buy a $100 bracket. So I gladly bought the bracket. It's not here yet. I don't think they're shipping them, or they are in limited quantities, especially with all this Corona stuff. So I did buy that, and I will update it. And I think it is good technology to answer your question, but I don't think it's ready yet. And I don't want to mess my unit up until they fix it. So I'm going to wait. All right, Travis says 4 feet dead zone mat on a brand new transducer that they did on warranty. So you had a bad transducer, they sent you another one, and that's what you mean on warranty, I'm assuming. 4 foot dead zone. Travis, to me, that almost sounds more like a processor issue than a transducer. I could be wrong, but it almost sounds like a processor in the unit, maybe. I mean, if your transducer's working, there shouldn't be a dead zone in there. And if one whole band was out, then it'd be bigger than a 4 foot dead zone. I would lean more towards processor, rather in your unit or in the box. If it doesn't clear up with transducer, I would tell them you want another black box. And if they tell you to ground it again, well, ground it and go on with that. But it does sound like a processing issue to me. Bruce Lester asked, do you bake your jigs after dry painting them? Nope. Nope. Bruce, I don't know if you watched last week, but last week I showed some powder paint, and it basically is a bake. You take the powder paint, you heat the jig up with a lighter, you dip it in the powder paint, and when you pull it out, that powder fuses with heat, and it's basically baking it onto the jig head. So I powder paint my jigs. Chartreuse is my favorite color. That's what I prefer to do. I don't think it's in here. I think I took it out to the boat. But if you go to Bass Pro and type in powder paint, you'll see the type of powder paint I use. It's ProTech powder paint. Buck Chaser, how much vertical clearance do you have between your trolling motor head and your LiveScope transducer? I actually don't have my transducer on my trolling motor, Buck Chaser. I have it on a pole from Fishing Specialties, which sets it 4 or 5 feet away from my trolling motor because it's on a pole hanging over the side of the boat. So I prefer to have it on a pole. And the reason I prefer to have my transducer on a pole is because I can work my transducer independent from my trolling motor. So if the wind's blowing or I'm fishing a dock and I'm parallel to the dock, I can take that transducer, point it under the dock, and still use my trolling motor to maneuver the boat so that I can fish. Yeah, there's Larry. He said, "Yeah, it was a lot. We caught a lot of fish in that video. We had a good day that day. It was fun. We can do it again." I got sweet tea today. That's my Budweiser sweet tea. Yeah, so John Nelson said he powder paints too. I found that powder paint is great. I mean, I really enjoy the powder paint, and it's not quite as messy as painting them and baking them. So powder paint for me works really good. Buck, Travis answered your question. If you didn't see it, he said 6 to 7 inches above the trolling motor head. Yeah, Blake, we will, buddy. How's it going? I'm glad you're with us. Here's a good question from Jeff. Does the chick and Watts bar crappie usually hit about the same time? Jeff, I'm assuming you're talking about spawn. The answer to that is no, they do not. Chick normally goes first, and I'll tell you why. Because Chickamauga is predominantly black crappie. There are white crappie in Chickamauga. You can go out on brush piles in open water and catch whitefish, but predominantly the fish in Chickamauga are blacks. Black crappie spawn first. So you're going to get the majority of fish on Chickamauga spawn first before Watts Bar. Also, Chickamauga is a shallow lake compared to Watts Bar, and it warms up quicker. So the water temps are going to rise quicker on Chickamauga. You're going to get an earlier spawn. You've got the Tennessee and the Clinch that feed Watts Bar. Both Tennessee and Clinch are cool. Of course, Watts Bar feeds Chickamauga, but again, Chickamauga is shallower. And with that cooler water coming out directly into Watts Bar from the Clinch, which comes down from Norris, you've got cooler water in Watts Bar. So No, to answer your question, Watts Bar will be later. I've caught spawning fish in Watts Bar 1st of June. And I'm talking spawning fish in 4 or 5 feet of water. Hang on. Yeah, 4 or 5 feet of water on Watts Bar in June. So I would say chick and then Watts Bar. All right, Bob, here we go. Fishing Cherokee Lake during the late spring, early summer months. Late spring, early summer, lake's going to be up. I would look for, well, Bob, I'll tell you, I would actually go out in the winter and I'd ride around and look for structure on the bank. And I'd try to mark that structure. Some guys actually take a handheld GPS and mark it. They'll get out of the boat and mark it and then put it in their unit. But I would look for stuff that is going to be in that 15 to 18 down to 25 foot range when the lake comes back up, and that's what I would fish. Blowdowns are good. Bluffs are good. In the summer, if you get on bluffs and you can find some blowdowns on bluffs, that's really good. Docks are always good. Most of the docks on Cherokee are on rollers, and they'll roll them up and down, so the depth underneath those docks stays pretty consistent year round. So docks can be good in the summer too, and late spring. It's post-spawn pattern late spring, and you can catch some of those fish in the mouth of the creek. You control and catch them too as they move out of the creeks too. So that would be my suggestions on Cherokee. Be what I do. Larry said he's trying his perspective view. He said something else to get used to. Hang on just a second, guys. All right. Travis, I'd say when you get that black box, buddy, that's probably going to fix it. If I were a betting man. You'll have to let me know, but it sounds like a processor issue. Let's see. You'll have to excuse me. I'm trying to make sure I don't miss any of you guys' questions. Blake said he likes those Art Cap. Thanks, Blake. They're nice. I like it. They're about as nice as their rods. Hunter's in Maryville, my hometown. What's going on, buddy? Glad you're with us. Here's a good question from Hunter. Now that you've used the LiveScope mount, the Fishing Specialties mount, is what he's talking about, would you ever go back still using your PVC one? So for those that follow the channel, I did make a PVC pole for my LiveScope. And I do have the video out on that. And that's a great question, Hunter, because a lot of the reason that I went to the Fishing Specialties poles, because my fishing partner that I fish tournaments with has a Fishing Specialties pole, and we wanted to be universal for our live scopes. We have a third live scope that is in a portable bag, so that when we fish tournaments, we can have 2 live scopes in the boat. And we wanted to be able to use the poles universally between his boat and mine. I absolutely, let me tell you, I love the Fishing Specialties pole. Everything about it, I love it. It is lightweight. It's easy to use. I love that it protects the cord as it goes off the side of the boat, runs down through the transducer pole. There's a lot of really good things for it, but I do know that it is a little pricey, and I do know that some people don't want to dump that money into it. So to answer your question, Hunter, if I had the money to spend, I'd get the Fishing Specialties pole. If I didn't have the money to spend, I would be okay with the PVC pole. It worked great. There was absolutely no issues with my PVC pole at all. So hope that answers your question. John says, what's up, John? Harrison, Tennessee. What is your favorite crankbait for trolling for crappie? Another good question. My favorite crankbait to troll for crappie, John, is going to be an Arky 220. It's a little smaller profile. It's got a little bit tighter wobble. I feel like it, for East Tennessee anyway, I feel like it mimics our natural forage a little closer because it's a little smaller. And then probably right behind that would be a flicker shad. Again, I feel like the flicker shad mimics our natural forage, and flicker shads have got some really good colors. They've got a pink and white that is just dynamite. I like pink and white. The flicker shad does. So anyway, some of those flicker shads are hard to find. I'm trying to remember the name of the website that I get them from. Fleet Mills Farm. Fleet Mills Farm is where I buy my flicker shads, and they have got some really good colors. They've got a fire tiger, which is really good. They've got that pink and white, which is really good. Check them out, Fleet Mills Farms. That's where I found all my different colors at. Major Brown said bandits. Yeah. Well, again, I'm cheap, and bandits are a good crankbait, but you can get an Arky for $2.50. I think it's $2.50 for the 220s, maybe $2. But I think it's $2.50. And then the bandits are what, $7, $8? I mean, I cry every time I lose a bandit. I lose an Arky, I just okay, and then go buy another one. But yeah, bandits are good crankbaits. That just, for me, I think they're a little overpriced. Here's a question from Robert. Have you had a problem with the fishing specialty pole breaking off the mount? I haven't. How so, Robert? Breaking off the mount. I'm not sure. Are you talking about the marine board? Are you talking about, did it break the screws, or what are you talking about? If you don't mind, leave me another comment. Let me know exactly what you're talking about there. I haven't had any issues. I hadn't broke anything on mine yet. No. I ran mine into a dock the other day and it didn't break. I was messing with a fish and turned around, and right when I turned around, it smacked the side of a dock, and I thought for sure it was going to break, but it didn't. George said, spot lock with LiveScope would drive you crazy. Yes, I think it would. I never even thought about putting my LiveScope transducer on my trolling motor. It didn't even cross my mind. I knew I was going pole all the way. Because spot lock, I know how much my spot lock moves. I mean, it's like this, and there's no way you could fish with a LiveScope like that. There's no way. I've actually had guys call me and say, you tell me you can see your jig on this. I can't see nothing. And I'm like, okay, well, I can watch a 32nd ounce jig fall 30 feet in the water. I can't do that. And it's like, well, why? And well, I just, the picture, it changes all the time. And I'm like, what do you mean changes all the time? And they said, well, my trolling motor, every time I move it, picture changes. I can't see that bait fall. And it's like, get it off your trolling motor. I mean, I want to be able to move that trolling motor independent of that pole. So if I got to move that trolling motor, I want to be able to move that pole or keep that pole on that bait so that I can watch that bait and I don't lose contact with my bait. That's the biggest thing about LiveScope. LiveScope won't catch fish for you guys. It will not. It will not catch fish for you. But what it will do is it will extend the time that your jig is in the strike zone. You can watch that bait fall. You can watch it hit the top of the brush, and then you can work that jig just like if I was working. If the bottom of the screen was brush, I can work that jig right across the top of that brush on that screen, and the longer I keep it in the strike zone, the more of a chance I have to get bit. So it won't put fish in your boat, but it will keep you in the strike zone longer, which in return puts fish in your boat. George has asked, what line and pound do you shoot docks with? That's the best answer I can give you, George. That is vicious, 4-pound test, high vis, yellow. I get it from Grizzly Jig, no secret. Actually, I think Rural King, if you have a Rural King's carrying these now in this big spool. This spool right here is $7, $8, I think, 7 some change. It's got right at 2,960 yards of line on that spool. I run one of these spools for 6 months, and I respool a lot, and it's $750. That's what I do all my fishing with, except pulling crankbaits. I even troll with this. I troll with 4-pound test. I do everything with this line right here. Now I have been experimenting with some braid and some other different lines, but I've been using the bonehead braid. I like it. I really like it. I like the feel. I like the response of it. I like there's no stretch. I'll tell you what, I challenge you. If you've never used a braid, okay, put braid on one of your reels, take it to the lake and fish brush piles with it for half a day. Just half a day. Dip brush, just fish vertically over brush for half a day, and then switch back to that rod with mono on it, and you'll understand how much mono stretches. I challenge you to do that, guys. It blew my mind. I looked like Kevin Van Dam in the front of that boat when I went from braid to mono one day. I fished about half a day with braid, and I went to mono, and the first fish that bit, I set the hook. I mean, I moved the rod tip maybe 1.5 feet, and I felt like I never touched the fish with the hook. I was like, what in the world? That was horrible. And the next fish that bit, it looked like a Kevin Van Dam hook set in open water on a 9-pound largemouth. It was ridiculous. And I was like, golly. And I still didn't feel like I set the hook. It was just, the amount of stretch is unbelievable on mono. So I have been experimenting with braid, but I don't like it for the simple fact that you can't break it off. I mean, you'll pull a brush pile off the bottom of the lake with it. You can't break braid off. And I don't know that I like that, because if I get hung, I like to fish tight and brush. And if I get hung, I want to be able to break that jig off and retie without spooking every fish in the lake out of a brush pile. But I use 4-pound to shoot docks. Semper Fi. Hoorah. Let's see here. Where are we at? I lose my spot on this thing so easy. I'm not sure. Maybe I just hadn't figured it out yet. Larry asks, bottom hardness influence crappie? Does bottom hardness influence crappie? Sometimes. Larry, that's a very good question, buddy. I've caught crappie on soft bottom. I've caught crappie on hard bottom. I think bottom hardness will influence crappie on the days that they're sucked to the bottom. I tend to find them on softer bottoms on days when they're like that. I tend to find fish around soft bottoms when they're down on it. But as far as does it influence the crappie, I don't know that it does. Crappie are typically suspending fish. They typically suspend most of their life. I mean, again, you'll find them on the bottom, but they're not like a catfish laying on the bottom. They may relate to it, but they're not going to lay on it. Now, I've caught some crappie under docks that had mud on their belly. So, they could have been laying on the bottom, but that was shallow docks, and they just about had to be under some of the docks I've caught them under. I mean, just feet of water underneath them. So, oh, I see what it's doing now. It's jumping on me. It's trying to catch me up. Chilhowie. Hunter, I have not. I have not fished Chilhowie. I've heard there's crappie in it, though. I've heard that they stocked some crappie up there recently. But no, I haven't been up there. I'm sure at one point I'll get up that way, but with the tournament schedule and fishing all these different lakes and trying to keep up with everything, no, I hadn't had time to get up there. Yeah, Robert. I hadn't heard of any of them breaking off. I hadn't broke any, and I know about a dozen different guys that have the fishing specialty pole now that fish in our club, East Tennessee Crappie Club. They hadn't had any problem with that either. I know one guy that somebody ran into his boat at the boat ramp one day and it broke one off, but it just sheared the plastic screws off, and it didn't break it. Just took the plastic screws out and put new ones in. It went right back to it. So, I hadn't heard of anybody breaking the base plates off. No. Mm-mm. What kind of setup do you use on your LiveScope? I'm assuming. What kind of bag, battery, etc. So my bag is it's an ice fishing bag that Summit Fishing Products makes. That's our third LiveScope. That's our floating LiveScope, we call it. It goes from boat to boat during tournament day. My LiveScope in my boat is just floor mounted. It's on a 12-inch balls out mount. But Summit Fishing Products on the bag, and the battery is Amped Outdoors. I run a 30 amp hour lithium from Amped Outdoors. You can go to Google and type in Amped Outdoors, and they'll take you to their website. The 30 amp hour, you can run a LiveScope and a 9SV for about 3 days without charging it. Then it'll stay at 13 volts. One guy commented on my LiveScope video where I showed you guys the settings and everything. He said, "I've never seen one at 13 volts without the motor running." I said, "Well, my motor ain't running. It's a Amped Outdoors lithium. Go get you one. It'll run yours at 13 volts too." And voltage and amperage is very important for LiveScope. A lot of the ghost tree problems that I've seen can be attributed to not getting the correct amperage. So there's a difference in voltage and amperage. You can get 12.5 to 12.75 volts and not get the amperage that you need to run your LiveScope correctly. Amperage is a very, very big deal for LiveScope. You've got to have the amps to keep that thing running. My suggestion would be get that Amped Outdoors lithium. It'll run it just fine. Yeah, George said the bonehead braid is so easy to see and feel. It is. It's great. It's a great braid. That high vis yellow braid. Bonehead has a high vis yellow. They've also got a high vis orange, but I hadn't used it. I used the yellow. It is great. It's great to see. It's really good feel. He said he he enjoys braid with a leader. George, my thought is, if you're going to tie a leader on it, do you need the braid? I thought about doing that. I thought about tying a leader, but then the weak point is your leader. So if I tie 4-pound vicious, then I may as well just spool my rod with 4-pound vicious, I guess. I mean, that's kind of my thinking. Because you're going to lose some of the sensitivity, not all, but you're going to lose a little bit of the sensitivity in the leader. But again, it won't suck up everything. I mean, you'll still get a pretty good amount of feel coming back. But that was just kind of my thought. It's just something else to have to do if you break a leader off or retie too many jigs, which I retie a lot during the day. You just have to tie more leader on. It's just, for me, let's go with the mono and be done with it. Let's see. Here's a good question from Buck Chaser. How many rods do you have on the deck while fishing? What will you have tied on each? Large jig, small jig, plastic, hair, different colors? That's a great question. I'll tell you what, I generally run 4 rods, and I generally have 2 16th ounce and 2 32nd ounce jigs tied on each one. So what I try to do with my 16ths, because I like the different fall rates of a 32nd and a 16th. That's what I fish with just about 100% of the time. It's a 32nd or 16th. I hadn't found wind bad enough, I found current bad enough to go to an 8th, but I hadn't really found wind or anything like that bad enough to go above a 16th. Current, yes. Wind, no. So what I typically do is I'll have 1 16th ounce jig with a clear water bait, and then I'll have 1 16th ounce jig with a dirty water bait, not necessarily muddy water, but dirty water. So I'll kind of have contrasting jigs, and then I'll have 2 32nd ounce jigs that contrast each other as well. And I try to do different color spectrums. So I'll try to do let's see here. Hang on a second. I showed these last week. I still got them sitting here. So let's say I was throwing 30 seconds. That may be my clear water color. Okay, that's a moon dust stump bug with a chartreuse head. That's a 32nd ounce. And then I may have a black and chartreuse tied on the other rod with a 32nd ounce. That's kind of what I go with. Now, if I throw both of those at a brush pile that has fish on it and I don't get bit, then I'll go to the 16ths and see if a faster fall will trigger a bite. If that doesn't work, then I'll go to different colors. Okay, I'll start switching colors, trying to find out if color will change their mood. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. Sometimes fish are just negative and they're not going to bite. Can you sit there for an hour and get one to bite? Yes. Do you want to? No. If they're not active and they're not hitting a jig 30 seconds, they see it. And if they're not hitting it within 30 seconds, go find yourself another brush pile with active fish. A lot of times I'm guilty of it. I'll spend way too long trying to get fish to bite when I've got a whole lake of brush that I can go find active fish. So that's kind of what I do. I have 4 rods, 2 32nds, 2 16ths, and then different colors and mix it up from there. Really great question. Large jig, small jig, plastic hair. I typically stay with plastic, but I will tell you this. If you haven't ever heard of Jiffy jigs, Jiffy jigs, they're out of Georgia, and that's the best of both worlds. Let me get one out. You guys can't really see that very good. That is, they have them in 24th, 32nd, and 16th. That is a plastic body with a hair tail. It's a feather, actually. Feather tail. I catch a lot of fish on those jigs right there. And they have them in all different colors. That's just the color I have sitting here on the deck, or desk. But they're good baits as well. I primarily use 32nd ounce jig heads other than windy days. Yeah, that's about what I do, David. I mean, if it's windy, a lot of times if it's real windy, you just can't cast a 32nd. You can still fish a 32nd. You just can't cast it very far. You know, days when it's windy, you really got to point the boat into the wind and cast into the wind. And a 32nd ounce jig can get hard to cast into the wind sometimes. Oh, we're talking about PBs. My personal best crappie. Not as big as Scott Bunch's. Scott on here? My personal best crappie is actually a 257, I think is what it was, or 263. I caught it in a tournament, weighed it in. It was an East Tennessee Crappie Club tournament on Watts Bar in 2018. I think it was 2 years ago. It was maybe it was 263. 263 seems to ring a bell. I don't exactly remember. I have to look it up, but that's a good question. I've always told myself I'm gonna mount one when I catch a 3-pounder, and that's tough in Tennessee. If I was fishing Grenada or Fork or Lake of the Pines or Palestine or someplace down in that area, you probably catch 3-pounders in your sleep. Arkansas's got some big fish too. But I'm going to catch a 3 around here one of these days. It'll probably be on Watts Bar when I do it. But I catch a 3-pounder, we're going to mount it. Larry Merrick said, I thought I saw about 142 B&M poles in your rod locker. Yeah, well, yeah, I got a lot of poles. They're not generally all on the deck, though, Larry. I think the question was how many are on the deck. I have a lot of poles. I have a problem. I do. I have an equipment problem for sure. My wife tells me all the time I've got a problem. I'm trying during this bad time. All right, George. Where would you suggest me trying during this bad time on Loudon? I live in Maryville, enjoy shooting docks the most. George, right now on Loudon, I would be fishing shallow structure. I'd be fishing anywhere from 8 to 12 feet. I'd look in the creeks. I'd look for flats, 8 to 12 foot, and I would find structure on those flats. If you can find flats in the back of creeks, hey, Scott's on. What's up, Scott? He probably heard my big fish comment. I hope so. But if you can find flats in the back of creeks, 8 to 12 feet, find structure on them on Loudon right now, you're going to catch fish. The reason being, Loudon is dirtier. It's a dirtier lake than most, and it warms up quicker. So you're going to find fish up shallow right now. There's probably already been some fish on Loudon spawn. So docks are fun. Docks are great. Shallow docks would be good right now. Look shallow. Shallower the better. I've caught fish on docks in 2 and 3 feet of water, especially on Chickamauga. Loudon, same way. I've caught them shallow. This time of year, they're going to be shallow. Everything's early this year. Azaleas bloomed early. Dogwoods bloomed early. Turkeys started gobbling early. Fish are going to spawn early. I would go shallow and work your way out for sure. Backs of creeks and work your way out. Guys, if you all have not seen East Tennessee Crappie Club's Facebook page, Scott Bunch and Neil Alvis put a stringer together at our last Watts Bar tournament. I just want to tell them they caught some giant fish. I mean, they had a 271 and a 263 or 267 or something like that. It was a giant. They had two giant fish. We finished second. Me and my partner finished second right behind Scott and Neil. And I'll tell you, it amazed me. We had 14 and a half pounds with 7 fish and finished second. It blew my mind. They had 1571 with 7 fish. It really, a lot of big fish caught, and they slayed them. So congrats to them. They 279. He says he's quick to remind me. Look at that. He's quick to remind me. Yeah, I poked the bear. Let me tell a little story real quick. So Scott and Neil, we had eluded them on Watts Bar for about what, Scott, 3-4 years. You guys hadn't beat us yet. And I was just kind of poking the bear. I told him a week before the tournament. Actually, the tournament they were going to go to got canceled. And they actually ended up being able to fish the Watts Bar tournament. They didn't think they were going to be able to fish because they were going to another tournament. Anyway, I poked him. I said, hey, I know why you're not fishing the Watts Bar tournament. And he says, why? And I said, you can't win it. You don't want to lose, And I just kind of poking the bear, just yeah, that was the wrong thing to do. We got waxed. They kicked our tail. Hey, karma is we way too many years. He said, see, he knows way too many years. They waxed us this last tournament, though, boy. I tell you, word to the wise: don't poke Scott Bunch; he will get you. So, congratulations to them. That was a great day. It was really fun. But let's see what we got here. Let me go back up. I've already missed some. Right here. Do you ever use the 3-inch bonehead slim stick? If so, when? Buck Chaser, I do not. I do not use the 3-inch slim stick. I don't know why. I just never have. I always have done so well on the stump bug that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I just never have used it, but I have heard a lot of people that say a larger bait, keeps some of those small fish off the hook. I don't know if that's true or not. I've caught some little fish on some big baits. So as average though, yeah, maybe it gets bigger bites, but no, I haven't used it much. Here's a good question. Hey, Matt, do I need to calibrate my LiveScope transducer to use it? I have it on Fishing Specialties pole. No, you should not. You should not have to calibrate it. I don't believe I calibrated mine. I don't think. I'm trying to think back now. No, you should not. You should not have to calibrate it. I remember because when we set up our third LiveScope, I remember that vaguely. And no, you shouldn't have to calibrate it, Jim. It should plug and play, buddy. You will have to adjust your gains and your forward range and your depth, and you will have to adjust some settings, but it shouldn't be a calibration. It should just be adjusting your settings so that you get a good picture. And if you have any questions about that, you can check out my LiveScope video. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I did 2 or 3 weeks ago. I did a video on LiveScope settings. Check that out. That'll help you. Let's jump back to George's question about Loudon. David answered your question. He said he caught him in 4 feet of water under docks. So shallow and work your way out. Backs of creeks, work your way out. Dwayne says he ordered 2 Ozark rods using the discount code. He's supposed to get them tomorrow. He can't wait. That's great, Dwayne. I appreciate that. I hope you enjoy them, buddy. I know I have. They're great rods, and And come back and let me know what you think. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it. What 2 rods did you order? If you don't mind my asking, drop me another comment. Let me know. So calibrating the compass on LiveScope, I did not calibrate my compass. I don't use it for those purposes. So no, I didn't. I skipped that step. Phil, here's a good one. I've had trouble losing crappie on the stump bug. I get a lot of fish on them, but lose a lot. What am I doing wrong? Phil, you're probably not doing anything wrong, first of all. If you get on fish that are, what's probably happening, Phil, is they're short striking the bait, okay? They're probably nipping at the legs and not getting the whole bait in their mouth. What you can try to do, if you get out there on a day and you start losing fish and you think maybe they're short striking it, take those legs and nip those legs off. So there's 3 tails on that stump bug. Let me grab one. There's 3 tails on that stump bug, okay? If you get a lot of fish that are short striking that bait, if you take these 2 tails, this upper and lower, and you pinch them off, try that and see if those fish, if you can get them to hang on. If they start hanging on, then they're short striking the bait. They're just not very active. It's aggravating them more than anything, and they're just, swatting at it, trying to get it gone, basically. That would solve your problem. I've done that several times, and it's worked really well for fish that short strike. Another way that I like to fish my stump bugs, and it's a running joke in my boat, is peter on, peter off. Are you fishing male or female? This is male. This is female. Okay. So peter on, peter off. If I'm looking for a little bit more action, those tails will move a little bit more with peter off. You'll get a little bit more action on those tails. So I fish peter off a lot, and you can try that as well. It gets a little bit more action on the bait. They may hit it a little harder. Hunter asked if I ever make my stump bugs weedless. I've heard of using 30-pound mono and dental floss. I have not, Hunter. And the reason why is because I don't want anything there that could affect my hook set. I don't want anything there that could be detrimental to my hook set. So crappie jigs are cheap. Jig heads are cheap. And if I lose a few in a day's time, I don't too much worry about it. I guess I am cheap to a point. I'm not cheap when it comes to jig heads. If I lose a bunch of jig heads, I just lose them. But no, I have not tried weedless just because I don't want anything there that could affect a good hook set. No problem, Phil. I hope that helps you, Phil. Let me ask you guys a question. Would you guys enjoy having Scott Bunch on here with us next week? I think we could get him on here if you guys would maybe comment a little bit and tell him he needs to get on here with us. I sure would like to pick his brain. I bet you guys would. Scott and Neil, for those of you who may have not ever seen any of their posts or seen any of their tournament wins or anything like that. They're very, very good anglers. There's no doubt. I have learned a lot from those two guys. They are very, very, very detail-oriented anglers, and they have had a banner year this year. Larry says yes to Scott. There's one. Anybody else? They've had a really, really banner year. They have won 4 of our East Tennessee Crappie Club tournaments. We've fished 7. They've won 4 of them. And then they've also won, Scott, help me out here, buddy. 2 Crappie USAs this year. I think they've won 2. Or they've won 1, finished second in 1, something like that. I can't remember. But I wish I could speak to it better. They are just phenomenal anglers. So I'd like to get Scott on here with me. Bring on Scott. Scott next week. Let me put these on here for him. He's still watching. Yes to Scott. Bring on Mr. 279. Hey, Mr. 279. That is good. That's going to stick. Major Brown, I appreciate you. That is going to stick, sir. Mr. 279. I like it. Scott, yes. Bring on Scott. Scott, you still there? You going to answer these guys? Come on now. Don't be shy. I'm putting him on the spot. I like it. You can ask him. I like putting him on the spot. I put him on the spot a lot. Bring on Scott. Come on. We'll see if he answers. You're welcome, George. Thank you for the questions, George. Thank you all for the questions. I really appreciate it. I really enjoy doing this. It's really great to be able to just talk to you guys, sit here and kind of one-on-one with you guys, or one-on, what do we got? 100 people, 44. Is that I guess that's the little 44 people right there. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy helping you guys out, trying to help you guys. 1 first, 1 second. Yeah, Scott says 1 first, 1 second. Yep, I was right. So they've really had a good year this year. They've fished well, and again, they're excellent anglers. And it's good to have different perspectives. I mean, a lot of these guys probably. All right, guys. He says probably. Have to tune in next week to see if he comes. But it's amazing how all these different anglers fish different ways. They fish with different products, different lines, different rods, different reels. It's amazing. I mean, there's so many different ways to catch these fish. Before we leave, let me ask you guys a question. Who knows what these are? Anybody? Let's see who gets it right first. Anybody know what this is? Scott, you're not allowed to answer. Anybody? Do I have you guys stumped? I'm going to give you a second. Hey, Steven got it right. Planer board. This is a planer board. For those of you who don't fish with these, this is the equivalent of bobber fishing when you're a kid. I mean, this right here is, for me, probably the funnest way to catch a crappie ever. I mean, these things right here are addicting. And they're very, 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 very useful. They're very cool and very, very useful when it comes to crappie fishing. Because for those of you that have longline trolled, this planer board, for those that don't know what the purpose of this planer board is, if you look, it's got can you see it on that screen? Probably not. It's got an angle cut on the front of it. Let me turn it this way. There's an angle cut on the front of that planer board, okay? So when that planer board's in the water, you've got these clips right here where you clip your line. Okay, they're bobber clips. You clip your line here and clip your line here, and you're pulling it with the boat. Okay, you're trolling. But what it does is this angle will pull your bait out to the side of the boat, and the more line you let out, the further away this thing gets from the boat. You can cover 100 feet of water and just pull jigs, pull flies, pull minnows, pull whatever you want behind the boat. You control, and you can cover just a huge area of water. When the fish are shallow and they're spawning, these planer boards, you can put 3 feet of line behind this planer board, and you can pull it in 3 feet of water and never hang up on the bottom. If your boat will run in 3 feet of water, most of them will. But it's so much fun because when a fish grabs that bait, this board starts doing this number. It starts shaking and a wobbling and a carrying on. It's just so much fun. So good night. What we're going to do this week, I'm going to do a planer board show. I'm going to go Saturday and I'm going to run planer boards. I'm going to let you guys see how I run planer boards. Fish are shallow. They're up spawning. They're moving in, moving out. There's a lot of scattered fish. And we're going to go try to catch a few on planer boards. So just kind of a intro, if you will, to what I'm going to do this week. I've been dying to run them. I love it. Just watching those planer boards shake. Wait till you see the video. I'm going to try to get some of this of, when fish hits these. They're so much fun. Brand of board. Steven asked what brand of board. Hunter Mitchell said doorstop. Yeah, these doorstops are a lot of fun though. They're I'll tell you what, you use doorstops, I'll use these, and we'll see who catches more fish. That's a good one though, doorstops. Here's a good question. What brand of board is it? So this brand of board here is actually a Crappie Shark, which they don't make anymore. The guy that made these no longer makes them. But there are several different people that are making the same version. We've got a guy in the club that makes them. His name's Scott Baines, and they are called, hang on just a second and I'll tell you. Well, I said I would. So I know Crappie Reaper. If you go to Crappie Reaper on Facebook, he makes some just like this. And I'm looking for Scott's page. I don't see it. So I'll show you guys. So there's, I don't know if you can see that. There's Crappie Reaper. He makes a board just like this one. And then I'll put something in the comments below for Scott's. He makes the same board. His are out of a little different material. So most of these are made out of wood. I think they're balsa, if I'm not mistaken. But I think Scott's making one out of a PVC board, which is actually lasts longer because you don't have to worry about it soaking up water at all. And they'll probably last a little bit longer. So I'll leave a comment for his page down below, but good question. So Robert says, just for fun, the head fish biologist in Oklahoma said that the average depth for spawning crappie was 14 feet. What do you think? Well, I'm not a fish biologist, but I would probably agree. If you watched last week's live, I mentioned that I thought on Teleco they spawned in 10 to, I think I said 10 to 12 feet of water. So I would probably agree with that, Robert, because that's kind of what I alluded to last week. It's different on a lot of different lakes. Water clarity has a lot to play in it. Muddy water lakes, fish are going to spawn shallower. Clear water lakes, where the sun penetrates the water deeper, they're going to spawn deeper. Crappie have to have the right temperature. They've got to have temperature. Temperature is everything when it comes to laying eggs and hatching crappie. They got to have the right temperature. So they're going to go where they need to be, whether it be 2 feet or 14 feet. They're going to go where they need to be. But I would agree with that comment. I mean, his statement, I would agree with it. I think that's probably accurate. Steven says the crappie shark is extinct. Yes, it is. But there are people making them, just like I said, crappie reaper. And then, man, I wish I could remember Scott's. That's going to drive me nuts. But like I said, I'll put his page down below. Yeah, I will, Larry. I'll put all the links in, buddy. Anybody have any other questions? We've been on now for a little over an hour. I'll answer questions all night if you guys want to. It doesn't bother me. I'll sit here with you. I don't have any time on this. I don't have an end time. So if you guys keep asking questions, we'll keep answering questions. Derek, I'm in Minnesota and still ice fishing. Have you fished crappie through the ice? Not sure what state you're in. I'm in East Tennessee, Derek, and no, I have not fished crappie through the ice. A couple years ago on Watts Bar, it froze over, and we had a tournament while it was froze over. From the creek channel to the back of the creek was froze. The only thing that wasn't froze was the main channel. I felt like I should have been fishing through the ice in that tournament because it was miserable. We caught, I think there was one team that weighed 7 fish. I caught like 8 fish all day long, and the water temp was like 24. It was just miserable. And I caught like 4 or 5 fish all day long and had 2 that weighed. It was a miserable tournament. Like I said, there was one team that caught 7 fish, and they fished right out in front of the nuke plant where it was dumping hot water in. Probably should have been there with them, hindsight being what it is, but I've never fished through the ice. I've heard it's a blast though, buddy. I heard that, you can just load them, I guess load, not the boat, you can load the ice down sometimes. I think it'd be fun to catch them and just not have to worry about putting them in a live well or a cooler. You just kind of throw them out on the ice. They stay fresh, right? I mean, I would like to do it one day. I just never have. David asked, anybody in the crappie scene now that you would like to fish with that you haven't? David, you put me on the spot, man. I've had the pleasure of fishing with some really great people. I really have. I fished with Russ Bailey. I fished with, the guys in our club. I fished with a lot of really, really great people. I fished with some of the guys from Bonehead that you all probably see on Facebook and social media. It's just been a pleasure to be able to be around some of these guys and fish with these guys and learn from these guys. Somebody that that's tough. I've never really thought about it, David. Probably if I had to fish with one person, if I had to pick one, God Lord, it would probably be Ronnie Caps. If I had to pick one person to fish with. And the only reason I say that is because he's been in this game so long. He's been out there so long that he has seen every situation, every type of water, every cold front, every storm system. I mean, they've been out there so long crappie fishing competitively. They've just seen it all and had to fish in it all. And I think it would be an honor to be able to pick his brain about, the moon phases and the barometric pressures and the water clarities and the current, no fish current, don't fish current. Just all the different things that I think about on a daily basis. Again, I have a problem, but just all the different types of fishing to talk to him about that and all the different, he's fished all over the country in all kinds of different waters. And I think it would just be cool to sit back and listen to some of those stories. Robert asks, can you see crappie beds on your electronics? If so, what are you using? I've never looked for them, Robert. If you watched the live last week, I typically in the spring, I typically don't fish shallow a lot. And the reason being is because a lot of times fish are so fast or so quick to move on the bank and move off the bank. I feel like I can fish that 12 to 15 foot range in the creek channels and in the Mousa creeks, and I can catch fish more consistently and I can catch big fish more consistently because that's where they're moving up to spawn. They're moving up in staging, They're moving up in staging in those areas, and they're waiting for conditions to get perfect before they hit the bank and spawn. So they may be sitting out there staging with temperatures rising, lake levels rising, falling, temperatures rising and falling with water temperature rising and falling to air temperature rising and falling, right? So they may be sitting out in the staging area for 2 or 3 weeks where they're on the bank for the big females are on the bank for a day and then they're gone. And then there's nothing but males there. So I typically stay out a little deeper. And for that reason, I don't look for crappie beds a whole lot. I will tell you this, I can see bluegill beds for sure on my electronics. And I run Lowrance HDS Gen 1s. I'm still running Gen 1s because I can see everything I want to see. I don't need to update. I don't need to change. I'm running the Gen 1s and I can see it all. So I just like the way they fit my eye. They fit my eye better. But I do run Lowrance units on my console. Oh, buck chaser. Why did you ask that? I'm going to come back to that. Here's a good question. Josh says, really close to having a boat. Already bought a 93 SV. Besides LiveScope, what other unit electronics would you get to start? Josh, it depends on what you're wanting to spend, buddy. You can spend $600 to $800, and you can get you a Lowrance HDS 8 or HDS 10 Gen 1 with a LSS 1 box and a transducer, and you can see anything and everything you want to see. Or you can go buy a Lowrance. Well, let's get off Lowrance for a minute. You can go buy a Humminbird Helix 10 Gen 3 with Mega, and you can spend, what are they, $3,000, $2,500? It just depends on what you're wanting to spend and what you're wanting to do with it. I obviously the HDS 8s and HDS 10 Gen 1s, you got to buy on the used market. You're not going to find a new one. They don't make them anymore. So, you always take a chance there buying stuff off the used market, but I've had pretty good luck. A lot of those guys on Bass Boat Central is a good place to buy units, and I don't frequent eBay very often. I stay on Facebook Marketplace or Bass Boat Central, something like that. Somewhere you can call somebody and talk to them, and you can tell by talking to somebody if you talk to them long enough if they're shooting you straight. So, but if you want a new unit, Lowrance has got some good units out. Their live unit's a good unit. Their carbons are a good unit. Hummingbird's got some good stuff. It looks like I have ran Hummingbirds before. They've got some good units out. Garmin's got some good units out. I mean, shoot, the 93 SV. I ran a Striker 93 SV for a while before I, put the Gen 1s back on my boat, the HDS units. I mean, I ran the Striker series of Garmin for a while, and I could see side imaging was great. You can see really well on some of those units. So, you can spend a little bit of money on one of those and get you a good unit too. And if you put another 93 SV on the console, if you're ever out there and something happens to your LiveScope unit, you can, unplug and replug, keep yourself in the LiveScope game. So, maybe you look at getting another one of those. Just depends on what you want to spend, buddy, really. Oh, here's a good one. What order would you list local lakes if you had to pick a different one over a 4 or 5 day period? Very good question. I tell you what, George, are you looking for big fish? Or are you looking for numbers? And drop me another comment and tell me, are you looking for big fish? Or are you looking for numbers? And I'll answer depending on what you're looking for. Okay. Derek, it would be an honor to fish with you. If that's, I guess when you said me, I'm assuming you meant that fishing question. It'd be an honor. All right, Buck Chaser. I normally do not speak to certain people, but and I probably shouldn't. So all I'm going to say is Josh Jones. Most everybody has seen him in some shape, form, fashion. He's a good angler. He's a good fisherman. He catches some big fish. I'm gonna leave it at that. I'll look that up, George. I'll look him up and see C&M, Eric Cagle. I'll look him up and we'll have a talk. Yeah, spot lock for sure. Spot lock is a tool, a very, very, very good tool. Spot lock for crappie is imperative in some applications. All right, guys, I'm to the bottom of the list here. Anybody have anything else? I'll ask one more time before we sign off for the evening. Anybody has any other questions? I'll answer a few more, and then we've been on for an hour and a half now. I'd like to answer 2 more. Does anybody have 2 more? Let's see. Steven, do you night fish any, and what do you do differently? I night fish every once in a while, Steven. I came to the assumption that man, night fishing is hard. And I say hard because then you got to function the next day. So I have a wife and 2 young kids, and man, there ain't no fishing all night, sleeping all day. Not with kids. No, sir. Daddy, daddy, daddy. They want to play, do this, do that. And no. So to answer your question, I don't a lot, but I have. And if I did anything differently, or I guess what I do differently is I'm strictly menace. I don't use jigs at night. I know guys that do. I don't. If I night fish, I use live bait, gold Aberdeen hook, slip float, light, and I'm fishing under a light. I do fish docks a lot at night, lit docks. And any dock that has any kind of light emitting from it generally holds fish. And a lot of them will have lights that are overhanging the water. They're on every night, so fish are used to feeding there, and you can generally catch a lot of fish there. You can just cast a slip float and a minnow up against the dock or just under the light, catch a lot of fish. That's the night fishing that I've always done. So, all right, let's go back to George's question. He says, big fish on best lake question. So big fish. So let's go back up here. Let me find that question again. Here it is. Well, no, that's not it. Where'd it go? Here we go. Big fish. What order would you list local lakes if you had to pick a different one over a 4 or 5 day period wanting to catch big fish? Number one, no doubt, hands down, going there every time I want to catch a 2-pounder. Every time, Watts Bar, no doubt. I'm going to Watts Bar. Lake is full of 2-pound fish. And right now, it's full of 1.5 to 2.5 pound fish. There is a ton of big fish in that lake right now. So that would be number one, would be Watts Bar. Number two for big fish, you guys aren't going to believe me, Melton Hill. I would go to Melton Hill, number two. You're not going to go to Melton Hill and catch 30 fish limit, you and your buddy. Probably. I'm not going to say you're not, but on a regular basis, you might not. But you're going to go catch big fish. I would probably say Melton Hill for number two. Number three, Cherokee. Probably. I don't know. 3 and 4 would be tight. They'd be Cherokee or Chickamauga, 3 and 4. For big fish, maybe 3 would be Chickamauga, 4 would be Cherokee, and then 5 would be Loudon. Did I miss any? Yeah, that's it. Watts Bar, Melton Hill, Chickamauga, Cherokee, Loudon for big fish. And let's do numbers for sake. Let's do numbers for sake of comparison. Let's do, if you want to go catch a limit of fish, let's do those 5. So it'd be Tellico, number one, hands down, limit of fish, Tellico Lake. There's not another one that compares to it, in my opinion. Tellico Lake for limit of fish. Chickamauga is number 2, without a doubt. Number 3 would be Loudon. Number 4 would be Douglas. And number 5 would be, well, no, let me go back. I messed that up. Tellico, Chick, Watts Bar would be 3. Then Loudon would be 4, Douglas would be 5. Sorry, I messed that up. That'd be my 4 or 5 for each one. I gotta scroll back down. Sorry. All right. I don't see any other questions there, guys. I appreciate y'all watching. I know we went way over our hour. I typically kind of had an hour in mind. Again, I'm not putting a time limit on this. I'm here for you guys, and anytime if you're asking questions, I'm going to answer them. So I want to try to get everybody answered. That way I don't miss you guys, and you don't have to go another week and waiting on me to come back on live. So I appreciate everybody watching. I appreciate you guys supporting the channel, doing everything for the channel that you have. I'm glad that I started this, and we can have this, and we can all get together. I think you guys are enjoying it. I'm enjoying the heck out of it, and I appreciate y'all watching. And we'll see you next week. God bless, guys.